Central on the Loot Information Station. We're live and on demand at lootinfo.com. If you want to watch the show, you can at Loot Info on YouTube. And it was a week for Missouri basketball. I would say, all in all, a successful one. I think the Tigers go 1-1, but it was a victory over the Vanderbilt Commodores, which we'll have to get into, Mr. Schaefer. Then they lost on the road to the Arkansas Razorbacks. How are you, Brendan? How do you feel about the 1-1 week for the Missouri Tigers?
Honestly, I feel pretty good about it. We'll get into the Vanderbilt game, obviously talk about the Arkansas game, but the way the Vandy game happened was obviously insane. Nearly just one of the all-time epic disasters, but it wasn't. And so a win is a win is a win, which you definitely needed to kind of stay on pace. And then the Arkansas game happens, and I didn't think they played particularly poorly in that game. I didn't expect that they would win it. They were competitive in it. They covered the spread at the bitter end, and didn't really hurt themselves, I don't think, in the way that they are perceived around the country when it comes to bubble talk. So I was okay with the outcome on Saturday.
Yeah. We said
so I would agree with you. A successful week is a fair way to frame it.
Yeah, and we said on the show on Wednesday, if you beat Vandy, yes, obviously a win over Arkansas sets you up. Basically, you're in the tournament. But if you beat Vandy, the goal is just to not get blown out on the road against Arkansas. And they covered the margin. The margin on the analytical websites was about 12, and they lost by 8. No issue.
Yeah, and I believe the closing line was 9.5. So that dunk at the end, there was some drones, I think, in the arena.
There was one guy behind the Mizzou bench. Did you see it?
I did see
He's jumping up and down.
That was interesting. I had money on the Arkansas spread just as not a lot of money, but just as a way to kind of hedge the emotions. And I sort of got what I paid for because I wanted Mizzou to be competitive in this game. And they ultimately were. They were leading this game, for a good portion of the first half. And then there was the run by Arkansas where you felt like things could get out of hand. And to Missouri's credit, they never really did get out of hand. So I don't really have a way to look at that game and go, oh, man, if you had done this, you'd have won. Defensively, they weren't very good.
No.
That's probably what stands out, defense, and then defensive rebounding as well, where Arkansas had too many second chance opportunities. And then anytime Missouri's missing free throws, I get annoyed. I don't know what their final percentage was at the line.
74.
So it was actually fine compared to what they do sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, you almost in a game like that have to be perfect at the line, and you can't cough up as many second chance opportunities. But other than that, offensively, they played well. This was the first time all year that they scored 73 or more points and lost. So you would say, normally when they lose, the shots just aren't falling. They aren't playing very good offensively. That's not really the way that it went down. Their offense was okay, especially considering the team they were facing in the environment that they were in. I always saw some good things. I'm not moral victory guy, but coming into that particular game, I did think it was going to be a tough road to hoe. And I came away going, you know what? They put it out there on the line, and they played all right. And you didn't get the win that would have, as you said, set you up. You would have been firmly in the tournament. Nothing that could happen thereafter would take that away from you. But that's not where they stand, and they now stand where they're right back on the mark, needing a win tomorrow night, as I'm sure we'll get into. But the week was solid.
Yes,
you can't ask for much more than a win as an underdog against a ranked opponent, and then a cover on the road against a ranked opponent. But we probably have to get into the specifics of how the Vanderbilt game happened, because that was if you just told people the final score, you'd be like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. We know better than that, though, and so we have more thoughts about it than that.
Yeah. And quickly about that Arkansas game, I think I saw a stat, and I can't find the tweet, but I believe it was teams that shot 50% from the field, 40% from three, and Arkansas shot 88% from the free throw line. So that the tweet kind of moved the mark a little bit. Instead of 50-40-90, it was 50-40-88. Teams that had done that this year won by an average margin of 33 points.
Yeah.
And Mizzou lost by 8. So I think all in all, you can't really be yes, you played bad defense, but also Arkansas just shot the leather off the basketball. You can kind of live with how the game went. You scored 86 points. Mark Mitchell, Trent Pierce looked great.
Yeah.
And you beat Vandy. If you lost to Vandy, this game would have sucked, but you were kind of playing with house money and you didn't get killed. That's what was important.
And you know what it did for me is I don't anymore view the home game against Arkansas as this like impossible task.
Yeah.
I think that maybe Arkansas doesn't have that type of shooting performance on the road, and you might have a chance. Now, Missouri would have to try to match its shooting performance, which is going to be tough because they shot
Yeah.
the Tigers shot the ball well. But that I don't think that this is some impossibility. I think you'll be an underdog by 5.5 or so. But if you roll in, ideally you roll into that last game at 10-7.
Yes.
Feeling like you're in regardless, as long as you just handle, show up. But maybe you are able to get yourself an 11th conference win and really take yourself completely out of the bubble conversation, regardless of what may happen in Nashville. That would be, I think, the goal at this point. But to do that, I really think it becomes important to win tomorrow night. I know we'll get into that probably later on in the show. But what did you? I want to hear about your reaction to the Vanderbilt debacle that was nearly a debacle.
Well, and you were one of them on Twitter, but I think that
one of
the people with this opinion, and I think yours was a little more trolly, happy they won, but
my opinion is always right. Anything I tweet is always
that's
correct.
I'm
correct.
True. But there was people on Twitter that were actually like mad that they won the game. And I was commenting on people's tweets like, who cares that they were up 21 points and it took a Hail Mary shot not going in? Like, they won the game. Like, people were tweeting as if they had lost the basketball game and blew the 21-point lead. Now, there was a lot of things we can get into that Mizzou did wrong. But the outcome between winning by 21 and winning by 1, I don't think is really that big of a difference. When you went up 21, you were never actually going to win by 21. Vandy was going to start making shots and put pedal to the metal, and Mizzou probably was going to ease off. You could be mad they didn't win by 10, but who cares? They won the basketball game. Like, if they would have, they won. That is what is important at this time of the year. We're not going for style points. They aren't going for, we won our seeding in March Madness. This could affect us being a 1 or 2. They're going for wins. The committee doesn't watch games, especially not Mizzou games. All they'll see is the nice little W in the win column and maybe kind of know how the game ended. They won't know Mizzou was up 21 points. I promise you. The win over Vandy is great. There was no reason in the moment, and I think people are over it by now, but there was no reason in the moment on Wednesday to be upset that they almost lost the game because they didn't lose it.
Yeah, it was upsetting. I disagree a little bit. I do think it was upsetting for the fact that they allowed it to get to a point where something was outside of their control.
They went too far.
Controlled the game. Like, Vanderbilt had a shot attempt that if it goes in, you lose. And it happened during the 40 minutes. So for them to carry that 21-point lead and then allow it to devolve into that is pretty bad. It's pretty disappointing. Is pretty alarming. You knew that Vanderbilt would have a run for sure. I would have had really nothing negative to say about the Vanderbilt run if with 1.8 seconds, Mark Mitchell doesn't do like the dumbest thing I've ever seen on a basketball court. If not for that play, I wouldn't have had really anything to complain about because it happens and you weathered the storm. They didn't actually weather the storm. They got lucky that Vanderbilt missed the shot.
Well, it would have been a half court in midair shot.
It just doesn't matter. I mean, you gave them the basketball. You said, here you go. We want to reward you for this comeback that you had. We're going to give you this. We're going to give you this shot attempt to see if you can win the game. To win the game, that was well in hand.
I'm 90% sure, Brendan, that was an order for him to do that.
It was an order to throw it to the other team.
No, but I think the play was that was the order, was to throw it as far as you can and waste the clock, which is I'm 90% certain because of in Gates' post-game press conference, he was asked about his reaction. Thoughts, and he said, "Oh, bleep, Mark didn't throw the ball far enough," which lets me know that the play was Mark throw it long, which two things. Why it's idiotic is there's 1.8 seconds. That's a lot of time. The play is if there's less than like a second, hey, Trent Pierce, go to the other free throw line. We're just going to throw it to you. You're going to swat the ball down like you're a Hail Mary DB. Even if they get the ball, there will be no time for them to catch it and shoot.
I agree.
So with 1.8 seconds left, obviously we saw that's time to catch and shoot. But 2, it's also time if Mark did throw it too far for the ball to go out of bounds and be Vanderbilt ball under the basket, or for the ball to be tipped out of bounds and still like a second left for Vandy. I don't understand why the play wasn't, hey, just get the ball in to Barrett or Robinson or whoever was out there. If they catch it,
it doesn't matter.
As long as they catch the ball, even if they catch it and it gets wiped out of their hands, that there's not enough time for catch, swipe, Vandy gain possession, and shoot. The only thing there was time for is if you throw it right to a Vanderbilt player.
You don't even
and that's
have
what
to
they
dribble.
did. No,
dribble. You just hold the ball, and there's not even enough time for a jump ball. I don't know who had the possession arrow. It doesn't matter.
If T.O. Barrett wanted to catch the ball and then throw it as far as he could do that. Throw it up in the air as high as you can, and the game's over.
My point is there's a lot of ways to not screw that up.
Yes, and they did.
As you're alluding to, and they picked the way that screws it up. Now, they didn't have any timeouts left to be able to talk about, like, in-the-moment strategy. But to your point, Gates' reaction being what it was tells me that he was all right with what they
throwing
did.
It deep. He just wanted it to be deeper.
It was not well executed at all. So trying to figure out the way to not ever do that again would be important. But like I said, if they had just played it straight up, or if they had executed it where, hey, somebody tried to tip the ball away from him, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on the floor as a Tiger. I'm blaming all of it on Mark Mitchell pretty much, but somebody else could have tried to do that exact play.
And I don't like that play because it's
a bad play.
It's risky for the foul too. If they did go up and let's say they went over the back of the guy, like, it's risky for the foul and send him to the free throw line.
I don't think there would be free throws because it would be a offensive foul. They wouldn't get to the line, but they would have an inbound. So it was dumb. I wouldn't have had a problem if they throw it in and they dribble out the clock, or they get fouled and even if they get fouled and they make a free throw and they miss one and it's a 90-foot heave. I don't have a problem with playing it out that way because there's nothing really self-inflicted about that outside the bounds of the game.
Yes,
that was self-inflicted outside the bounds of normal basketball action, and so it would have been a catastrophe. And like, that's why my argument, and it doesn't matter, it's semantics, but my argument about that play has been, and really about the game, when Dennis Gates says they bent but didn't break, I disagree. They broke, because in that moment, you're no longer in control. You put it into a moment, a situation where Vanderbilt had the control and could execute one play to win the game. You gave them that opportunity when you didn't need to do that. And so that was the moment where, they definitely tend to press the panic button in those spots. I think we've seen it before. The Vanderbilt run is what it is. Vanderbilt goes on runs against people when they're down. They did the same thing to Oklahoma. But when they hit a 3 at the buzzer against Oklahoma to lose by 1, they had no chance to win. This time they actually could have won the game, and I would have never watched another basketball game again. As it happens, Missouri won. The requisite win toward getting to 10-8 occurred, and now you've got to win 2 out of your last 4. And I did watch additional basketball games, and I got this hat I'm wearing at the Salute game on Friday.
Awesome.
So
we'll talk about that too. But with that too is like, I didn't actually have a problem with the coaching. The execution of Mizzou breaking the press and stuff wasn't great. They had 7 turnovers in the last 8 minutes. They have to figure that out.
It's not a great for like the point guard that does a lot of things well. He doesn't seem to I would press him all game, every game.
I don't know why the ball in that situation wasn't just going to Jaden Stone's hands.
I agree. Because he's also the most reliable free throw shooter on the team, in my opinion.
Even Anthony Robinson is a better breaking the press than T.O. Barrett.
But he can't make a free throw. So
I meant in the last 8 minutes when Vandy was pressing, not necessarily fouling. Should have been more Jaden Stone, because I think I saw 40% of the time T.O. Barrett was pressured, was pressed, he turned the ball over. So that wasn't great, but I don't really blame Gates too much. The execution was fine. Mizzou actually, I didn't think did that much wrong in the Vandy comeback. Vandy just started making their shots, and Mizzou wasn't really scoring. I didn't have any issue with Gates telling them not to play defense at the end there. Because worst case scenario is, you foul the 3-point shooter. If he misses it, the game's over. If he makes it, we just have to inbound the ball at the second.
There should have been no reason to have that be a dangerous situation.
No, so you probably should have defended him a little bit up the court.
I'm actually completely fine with it when you have a group of players that apparently can't follow directions. To just say, don't even just let them dunk it if they choose to dunk it. Let them have an open 3 if they choose that.
What's weird though is about that is, how did Vandy even get the press set up? Because their guys weren't tailing him. They were kind of just letting him go, and then all of a sudden, Like Mizzou should have grabbed the ball, get it in quick, game over. That is
Again,
another thing.
just
Yes,
shell shocked in that moment that this has actually come to what it's come to. So,
but the best time to be able to learn and maybe rip your team about the end of game situations was after a win.
yeah,
And that's what they got to do.
I wonder what he said to them though. If he actually ripped them, or if he was like, "All right, guys, we survived it.
I'm gonna say,
okay, boys.
I
Don't
think
worry about
that
it."
on Wednesday after the game, he tells them nice win.
Yeah.
And then hopefully the Thursday practice, there's a lot of, hey, here's everything we messed up on, though. Let's fix these things.
I would like to believe that you're right.
Because let's hope Missouri's playing postseason basketball, and let's hope they have a lead, and let's hope that this was a learning experience and that they break the press and don't turn the ball over and they win said game with the lead because of it. That would be great for all parties around, and it would make the Vanderbilt game feel less of a sting. But again, they won.
Yeah,
that's what they needed to do.
They did, and it allows for what happened Saturday to not really bother me at all.
Yeah,
you're probably gonna lose that game. So
yes. So where
I'm just looking ahead and thinking, all right, they're still in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I think so as well. So you go 2-2. They're in.
That's all you got to do.
I think the most likely are honestly the next two. And I think that they can beat Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma, I think is a team that, especially at that point in the season, might just be broken. Like, yes, they beat Vandy, but they went and they played kind of a close game to A&M, but it ended up being a 4-point game. But it was a game that A&M had at arm reach the entire time. They were up by 10 most of the game, and Oklahoma made it close at the end. I do think that both those teams don't have a lot of will to give anymore. So I think you can take advantage of that and win on the road. That, especially against that Mississippi State team. I mean, you were up by 20 most of the game at home, and then you kind of got shell-shocked a little bit. But I'll give that one, Brendan, honestly. There were some circumstances outside of your control. Your teammate blows out his leg in a bad injury, and then you kind of, the building's quiet, and Miss State starts making some shots to get it close. I'm not as upset about Miss State coming back in that game as I was the Vanderbilt game.
Me either. I would say, though, when you're facing Mississippi State again, like the reason Missouri, even with the run that the Bulldogs had late, the reason that Missouri didn't end up having any trouble still kind of holding on to win the game was because in the first half, Josh Hubbard just didn't have it. He was not making shots. In the games where he does, it does not matter who they are facing.
He'll make shots.
They have a chance.
Yes.
When he's making shots, they have a chance, and he can take over a game. So don't let him be the one to beat you. Easier said than done. And I think they can absolutely handle their business in that road game.
Beat Tennessee on Tuesday. You already played one noon, sleepy, non-conference or conference road game at South Carolina. There will be no juice in that Mississippi State arena.
I hope that's accurate. I hope that's right.
It'll be a sleepy Saturday noon game. Go with
again. Hubbard is the only thing that can take him down in that one.
Yeah,
and it'll probably be a close game. And I mean, I don't even know who will be favored just because of how the home environment, becomes such an advantage. But that's why tomorrow night it needs to be advantage Missouri, because if you beat Tennessee, then you just have to win one of the two road games to avoid it coming down to the Arkansas game to get your 10th win. So they are in a spot where they control the narrative as long as they beat Tennessee, which, I don't know if they'll be favored or a slight underdog.
They'll be a slight underdog.
It'll be a winnable game, just like the Vanderbilt game was. Tennessee ended up beating Vanderbilt as well on Saturday.
Hopefully they're coming off a nice high. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah. I'd like to think so.
A little bit of a trap game. They have Bama after.
Yeah, the spot could be better. Yeah. Like the spot for the Arkansas game for Missouri was bad because Arkansas was coming off the double overtime loss to Bama, so you knew that they would try to be playing pretty crispy. And Mizzou was coming off of an emotional win where they nearly blew it. So it was like, the script is not very good for that. And yet Missouri was able to play well. I would say, not to start to get too excited or get ahead of myself, but I would say the script is certainly more favorable this time. Mizzou coming off a game where they played well but lost. Tennessee coming off of a game where they won against an in-state rival on the road.
Yeah.
So that's certainly, and they were down by a good amount in the second half. So emotional win. I mean, the doesn't mean everything, but it could be a worse situation. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, I do too. I think that I mean, Tennessee beating their biggest rivals by far is probably a good thing for Mizzou. I just keep circling back to these 2 road games. It's like that's what, like, they're bad teams that they were at home. You feel really confident, and I guess the way the schedule ends up is kind of what you want it. You play the 2 quote unquote better teams at home and the 2 lesser teams on the road. It's just that nagging feeling of how Mizzou sometimes will go on the road. Like you think about Texas last year. Mizzou was the better team to Texas, and they lost like 58-54 and just ugly, ugly, ugly. That's what I'm worried one of those games is going to be like. It's just going to kind of be an ugly it up, and Mizzou doesn't come out on the right side.
Yeah, and I'm okay if it happens in one of the 2 road games.
Just win one.
The other one, as long as you win tomorrow, you can afford yourself that luxury. If you don't win tomorrow, you might need both road games to avoid. I mean, you do need both road games to avoid it coming down to the season finale. The season finale should be, it's an early tip, which is unfortunate against Arkansas, but it's a weekend game at your building against a rival. Your senior day, whatever you want to call it, like should be a juiced up environment in that one. But you'd hate to need a big upset in your final game of the season in order to feel like you're in. So don't, because right now the narrative is very much favoring Missouri. Like the bracketology, they're still considered in the field and not even as like the last team or 2, according to Lenardi.
Yeah.
They're even after a loss, right? So the Vanderbilt game, the fact that you won it, and the fact that we don't really get too bent out of shape about how you won it, ended up being a huge boon for them. And I think showing on the road was important to where you didn't get dinged at all. Like you might have dropped a couple spots, but that's more because teams maybe behind you had an impressive showing and a win. And so they're going to be rewarded on the seed line. They're in a great spot right now. And I think they're in a spot where 2-2 and a win in Nashville probably gets you out of Dayton.
Yeah.
So they're in a good spot.
This is hot off the presses, Mr. Schaefer. About as hot off the press you could get. CBS Mystery Man has a bracketology, but listen to when it was updated. 10:27 a.m. on February 23rd.
Oh my gosh, you're breaking news.
I opened it at 10:27 a.m. As soon as it came out, I opened it, and they have the Missouri Tigers in the West Regional playing North Carolina as an 11 seed. Not even in Dayton as an 11 seed. They have the
welcome that matchup.
I would be fine with that too. Caleb Wilson scares me. I'm not gonna lie. I'd rather not face a top 5 lottery pick, but I'd be okay with it. They have the St. Louis Billikens as an 8 seed playing A&M, and if they win, they'd play the winner of Arizona Long Island. So last time though, a St. Louis, Missouri team was supposed to play Arizona. They lost.
So Long Island, congrats on your Sweet 16.
Congratulations, Long Island. The Illini, they have them as a 2 seed playing the Navy Midshipmen. So they have moved Mizzou up, and I wish they don't have like the rank of the 11 seeds. They don't even have who the last 4 buys are, like the rankings of them. But you
can just count it that it's an 11 seed and a couple 10 seeds.
I guess so. But they have as the first 4 Cal, New Mexico, TCU, and Santa Clara. TCU lost, I believe, this week. Cal got a win over Stanford. New Mexico and Santa Clara are just like,
I don't get it, man.
I'm fine with that though, because Mizzou I think is better than both those teams. So boom, put us in. Lenardi, I believe, in his latest, which was updated before the games on Saturday, I think he comes out with a new one on Tuesday, so tomorrow. I believe he had Missouri as a 10 seed.
He would have him as an 11 because he hasn't put out a full bracket, but he does have his bubble up to date as of a couple of hours ago.
Does he? And he has them as an 11?
Well, he has them as last 4 in.
Okay.
So that would be, playing in Dayton. And if the seed line holds, I think they'd be facing New Mexico. But Mizzou is only one spot from being in the last 4 byes. That's New Mexico, TCU, Santa Clara. I assume he puts these in order. And Missouri is like the top team listed among the last 4 in. And then Auburn is the last bye. And they
so
better
stupid.
hold serve.
They suck.
What's wrong?
I just it's dumb because I don't think they're that good. They're 6-8 and they're barely above 500, but they're in because
well, they beat Kentucky. That's very unfortunate that they survived that game by.
You know who beat Kentucky on the road?
I understand that, but Auburn was already in a situation where
dumb.
they were falling and they caught that falling knife right where they needed to, and now they're still not out of the woods. They have to go to Oklahoma tomorrow night, and they host Ole Miss on Saturday. Losses in either of those,
they're done.
Would put them in they're not done, but that would put them in a precarious situation. They host LSU. Their next 3 games should all be wins. If they lose any of them, they'll probably lose at Bama to finish the season. If they go 2-2 the rest of the way, they probably get into Dayton on the merits of beating Kentucky by a point, because their record is still 6-8 in conference, 15-12 overall. If they lose one of the 3 that they shouldn't, and they lose to Bama, which that will be expected to happen, their record will be 17-14 overall. They will be 8-10 in conference play. If they would have lost that Kentucky game, that would be a 7-11 conference season and a 16-15 record. They wouldn't be in the field.
And this isn't the SEC that we saw last year, where teams like that got in.
Kentucky win's going to save them.
Yeah, I think so too. Here's where I'm saying though, Brendan. I think North Carolina is a pretty good team. If let's say there's a world, and this is I'm merging bracketology a little bit. So let's say Mizzou is actually an 11 there and at Dayton, I would welcome the matchup against New Mexico. I think Tigers would handle the Lobos. Hey, and that's another NCAA tournament win. Check. Then they get in. Right now, CBS has the 6 seeds that would face the Dayton teams as Wisconsin and Louisville. I think Mizzou could defeat both of those teams. Yes, good teams, but I'd rather face them than the other 6 seeds, which are North Carolina and St. John's. So I wouldn't hate a matchup against Wisconsin or Louisville, really.
No, I wouldn't either. Wisconsin's really considered that highly?
Yeah. 6 seed.
I would welcome that.
I'd rather that than North Carolina.
Yeah, probably
UNC,
so.
they got guys. They have Caleb Wilson. If Caleb Wilson's not playing, though,
yeah, their coach is pretty much
he's not
factor though. Sometimes you get into March and last year against Drake, you're like, oh man, we're be outcoached, and we were. So
at least with Herbert Davis, we wouldn't have to worry about
Davis.
that.
I honestly we can talk about matchups and stuff, and hey, once we have a bracket, we'll be like, oh, this would have been cool, or we really like our matchup. I just want to get in. I don't really care about who we're playing. I'd like to avoid Dayton, but at the same time,
it'd be fun.
Just get in.
It honestly would be kind of fun because we've seen too that a lot of the Dayton teams, they go on and win a couple games because they're hot. They've already
get through that first 4. There is a historic benefit to it
because there's no nerves
for sure.
You've already played in the NCAA tournament and you won the game. Some of those guys are playing for the first time. The teams, though, that I do want to avoid are maybe those lesser teams with superstars like Caleb Wilson, like BYU with Dybnasta. There's guys like that are 6 and 5 seeds that, again, I just want to get in. But if I'm going to nitpick a little bit, if beggars can be choosers, I don't want to play those 5 or 6 seeds who maybe have struggled against the big dogs a little bit, but they have that dude that could just drop 50. You know what I mean? That's not AJ had a triple-double against one of the best teams in the country in Iowa State at home and just took over the game.
Right. You don't want to face a March Madness legend in the making and end up on one shining moment because of how badly he beat you.
Yeah, exactly.
If you avoid those types of teams and those types of players, I think is probably to your benefit. Mizzou, though, has not gotten themselves into a position where they can really afford to pick their spot. So, and they still could. There's a realm in which they win 3 of their last 4, and it's not even a conversation, right? If they win both road games, beat Tennessee, and win the road games, and then you're talking about facing Arkansas for a chance to go 12-6 and possibly, the double bye.
Would you rather though be 12-6. Oh man, they might rock it up to
if they won out, that would be the record.
Where would they go if they're 12-6? You think they're a 10 seed still? You think they sadly would bump themselves, or you think they're going to at least a 7? No way they're a 9 or 8.
So quad 1 wins would be Tennessee,
Arkansas,
would be currently Oklahoma and Arkansas. I'm kind of pissed that Mississippi State lost because they were actually getting closer to be in quad 1 on the road. But now they're nowhere close, but should still be quad 2.
Let's say they win 6 in a row. That's 4 games in the regular season in 2 tournament games. That would be that they make the semifinals of the SEC tournament, I believe. Let's just go there. What are they ranked?
Well, it depends on if they win that many in a row, they probably would not be in the semifinals after 2 wins. They'd be in the final because they would be getting a double bye.
A double? You think they'd go all the way to top 4 if they win the last 4?
I guess to your point, there has been a little bit of a break there, but one of those wins would be over Tennessee. One of them would be over Arkansas. So those teams would only have to lose 1 additional game for you to be tied. You'd have the tiebreaker over A&M if they were in that conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be up in the air. I'd have to look at everybody's schedule. To your question, I think they would be above the 8 line.
I still would rather be a 10 or 11 than an 8 or 9. Like almost.
Yeah, but I think they would get to it. I think they would get to a 7 seed if they had that kind of finish. They'd be the talk of the sport.
I also almost
anticipate it, but
would rather be an 11 than a 7. Like, yes, your first round game's harder, but if you win, you got more of a chance in the second.
No, I'd rather be a 7 than 11.
And you'd rather be a 10 than an 11?
That one's negligible. Like, I think if you're a 10, you're avoiding the Devonsas, you're avoiding
for your first round game,
the Caleb Wilsons. Like, you're avoiding probably one of those teams that has one of those players because they're probably a 6 or better.
The 2 seeds are just scary. Unless you got Purdue. They could be Purdue.
I think the 3 seeds are going to be really tough too. Like, is Iowa State going to be a 3? They're
no, I don't think so, because the committee had them as the last 1 seed. So I don't think that loss at BYU would.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had them as the last 1 seed and Houston as the 2 seed. The committee did.
When did they give that update?
That was on Saturday before the games.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I got to take a closer look at that. I still feel like the 3s are probably still pretty dangerous.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you're at that level,
Florida, Kansas, Nebraska, Gonzaga. Yeah, I guess Nebraska I don't fear at all remotely.
Gonzaga I don't either.
Gonzaga, you could hang with Gonzaga for sure.
And Florida, you wouldn't play Florida or Kansas. They wouldn't put that matchup in.
That they would try to avoid it.
Why an 11 seed?
You could play them in the second round. That's not 100% true. They would try to avoid it, but it's not always possible.
They probably would avoid Florida for sure. Maybe not Kansas.
I think that's accurate because conference, I think, takes a slight precedent over non-conference.
Yeah. All right, let's go to a quick break. Come back. We'll talk a little bit more about the bracket, about what Mizzou has to do, and a little bit about the St. Louis Billikens as well. He's Brent Schaefer. I'm Grant Salzman. This is MIZ Central on the Loot Information Station.
This hour of content on the Lou Information Station is brought to you by Grandpa Pigeons, Johnny Mac's Sporting Goods, and Becky's Carpet and Tile Superstore.
Hey, see that, kids? That's the St. Louis Arch, the gateway to the west.
The Lou Information Station, where we'll always call it Highway 40 or Highway 40 if you're a boomer.
The St. Louis expression.
Stream our content 24/7 at louinfo.com. The Lou Information Station.
Listen up, fellow timeshare owners. If you're a timeshare owner and you want out at all costs, you're done, frustrated, tired of wasting money, you don't use the darn thing. Get out now. Hire the best Bulldog timeshare cancellation team in the business. Their in-house legal team, headed by a timeshare cancellation lawyer, can help you fight the biggest and baddest companies out there that sell timeshare. At some point, you were using your timeshare, but now you're not, and you're tired of wasting money. Before you go to the poorhouse, call right now and learn how you can stop the maintenance fees and put more money back in your pocket. Their services cost less than you think, and you'll slaughter money over time. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline now. It's a free consultation.
800-824-5131. 800-824-5131. 800-824-5131. That's 800-824-5131.
LouInfo.com news headlines. Brought to you by Brown and Crouppen, 222-2222.
With your LouInfo.com news, I'm Jared Sorello. The St. Louis Symphony Orchestra announcing its upcoming lineup, a schedule that mixes standard symphonic repertoire with new works and more live-to-film performances as activity continues at Powell Hall following its renovation. Music director Stephanie Deneve will lead 9 classical programs beginning September 16th with the orchestra's annual pre-concert on Art Hill. The city of St. Louis is moving to a Code Blue Level 3 with its winter operations due to the below freezing temperatures. That means more than 450 shelter beds are available to help those in need, along with transportation to shelters. The Code Blue Level 3 will remain in effect until Tuesday morning. Anyone in need of a shelter should call the United Way at 211. 2 people hospitalized after being rescued from a burning vacant building in North St. Louis. Firefighters responded to the fire Sunday morning at a 2-story building in the 4500 block of North Kings Highway. The Lou Information Station is streaming 24/7 at louinfo.com. I'm Jared Sorello.
Now, LouInfo.com weather. Presented by Home Bank. Member FDIC. Secure your financial future by opening a high-yield checking account today. Go to myhomebank.bank to get started.
Here's your LouInfo.com weather update. Cool high pressure over our area for now, but we've got some changes coming up Tuesday and Wednesday with much warmer weather on the way. In the meantime, about 30, sunny and breezy today. Overnight will be clear with low 20s. We hit the mid-50s for the high on Tuesday. Mix of sun and clouds and breezy. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton for the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at LouInfo.com and the free Lou Info app.
Introducing the Key STL Burger Bar and Boogie, your new home in the Grand Center Arts District. The Key STL is where the music plays, the game is always on, and the dance floor is open. The Burger Bar features the ultimate smash burger experience with premium pasture-raised local beef and a dozen house-made sauces to top it all off. It's the Key STL Burger Bar and Boogie, 3225 Olive in Midtown. Before, during, or after any game, this is the spot, St. Louis. Find out more at thekeystl.com.
All right, Cam, be honest. New Year's resolution still holding strong?
Not so much, Kat. But I did decide on one thing that I'm sticking with, making home life better in 2026.
And that's a good one. And if better includes more fun, more time outside, and less stress, then you need to talk to Merrimack Pools and Outdoors.
Absolutely. They build backyard escapes, pools, patios, outdoor kitchens, the kind of place everyone actually wants to hang out.
And now's the perfect time to plan. Don't wait until summer hits. Start now, get it designed right, and be ready when the warm weather shows up.
Merrimack Pools and Outdoors walks you through the whole process, from design to construction, and they do it the right way.
So if your New Year's goal is fewer trips, fewer crowds, and more memories at home, go to SplashSTL.com.
That's SplashSTL.com, and make this year the year your backyard finally wins. That's SplashSTL.com.
Hey, St. Louis, looking for high-flying action and electric energy? Grab your crew, hit the road, and experience a Grizzlies game night in Memphis. An unmatched atmosphere and star-studded NBA matchups are waiting for you just down the road on I-55. There's nothing like Grizz game energy, and there's nothing like being here with 19,000 new Grizz Nation friends at FedEx Forum. Dive into the action. Follow the Grizzlies on social media and visit grizzlies.com/tickets to grab your seats today. That's grizzlies.com/tickets.
And we are back on MIZ Central on the Lou Information Station. We're going to pivot a little bit away from Missouri and talk about the St. Louis Billikens, which Brendan Schaefer proudly is wearing his Billiken hat. They defeated the VCU Rams. They ended up rolling them, and there was a little tussle in Chaifetz Arena afterwards, a little scrum, I would call it. But they were down big. They were down over 15 points in that first half and into the second half, and they came back with a late charge. And some of the latest bracketology has them as an 8 seed, Brendan, and that is just absurd to me that team is an 8 seed.
Well, they lost to Rhode Island. That's not a good loss.
No.
I don't know what quad that would be, but not a good one.
Not a good one, no.
And so that is when you don't play anybody, that's the risk you run, is losing one of those, like a quad 3, I assume, games. Like, yep, that's going to ding you when you don't have like the big time wins to really offset it.
Yeah.
Now, beating beating VCU and doing it ultimately pretty convincingly is good. That's a pretty good win. Not sure that it's quite quad 1.
It could be. They're currently
They need to
45
jump.
in the net.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of upward mobility for them.
Is it top 25 at home that you have
I
to?
think it's 40.
Okay.
I think it's 40.
Maybe.
But
I
either
will
way-
say they have enough room right now that, let's say SLU wins out and then wins the A-10 tournament, they're probably a 7 seed.
Yeah, I think if they win out, they can avoid that dreaded 8-9 matchup and then facing the 1 seed thereafter.
And you know what?
The Rhode Island loss is a killer, because
Yeah.
it wouldn't even be a question, and you could be talking about being a really reasonable path to being the 6th seed, I think, if they had just handled their business in that game.
And it kind of reminds me, too, of last year. I don't know if you remember, Gonzaga was an 8 seed, and they played Houston, and it came down to the last shot.
Oh, yeah.
Gonzaga almost beat Houston. Like, I'm not saying SLU would perform as well, but you look in the ones, like Sampson was saying in that game, Gonzaga's not an 8 seed. Like, basically, he was saying without saying it, we got screwed. We had to play Gonzaga in our second round game. Yeah.
And like Gonzaga had a little bit of a down year, or didn't have as many of the quality wins as they sometimes do, because they schedule tough out of conference when they can. And it created a situation where like everybody knew they should probably be like a 6 seed and or a 5 seed, and they were not even close to that because of just it seems like everybody is up to date and hip to the metrics except for the committee.
Yeah.
Year after year after year, these smaller conference teams that are legitimate are underseeded, and it makes for an unfair situation for the top teams that have to play them in the second round.
Yeah.
And then, but like to that point,
SLU might not even get out of the first round.
Well, no, I was going to say that Houston survived that game against Gonzaga, so it was, no big deal ultimately. But like that was no consolation for Gonzaga. That showing how they played against Houston was an indicator that they would have beaten just about anybody on the 2 or the 3 line probably in the second round. So
yeah, and Houston made the national championship last year.
It's a bummer if you're that team that gets rolled on the seeding and nothing you can really do about it. Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. But I'm saying is that SLU's an 8 seed, let's say. Yes, they're not guaranteed to get out the first round, but if they do, you're not going to want to be the 1 or 2. You don't want to be in the same quadrant as SLU, because they have the shooting ability to make 15 threes and boom, your tournament's over.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, that's what we like about this SLU team. We just would like to see them. I think they could handle, like, give me SLU Nebraska in the second round. I absolutely think that the Billikens would be dancing to the Sweet 16 if that was their pod. You got to get a little bit lucky with the pod. No, the team on the other side doesn't want to see SLU, but if you're SLU, you want to see a favorable draw because this is a rare year where, as a team like SLU, you have the chops to go deep. You just need a little bit of help. Like, again, that Gonzaga team last year had the chops to go deep. They did not get the help. So I view it from the other perspective rather than, that team will be irritated and cursing privately that they have to be in a pod with SLU if it happens. But just the same, SLU, I think, to get, really where we all want to see them go, needs a favorable draw.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dayton,
to maximize those chances.
They play Dayton tomorrow, and Dayton is trying to find where they are in.
I mean,
the net.
It's a road game, but it's not a.
They're 84th, so that would be a quad 2
Still
game.
Quad 2.
What's funny is if SLU loses the game, it probably would end up being a quad 1 loss, which is why the quad is so stupid.
It is not a great system.
No, it's not. But it's a good Dayton team. It's a chance for a quad 2 win to add to the resume, which sometimes for the mid-major teams are just as big. So it's a place that SLU hasn't played well historically at either. So a big opportunity tomorrow for the SLU
I would
Billikens.
say if they start slow like they did against VCU, I will take the same strategy that I took against VCU, which was very profitable.
Live bet.
I love
bet.
seeing them start slow. It was awesome.
Except against Rhode Island. It was not as awesome.
No, I didn't take that strategy quite so seriously the way that I did against VCU.
Yeah, at home.
home game being
Mhm.
something that gave me
Yeah.
a little more confidence.
The Illini guy, Tyus Edney. You see that?
I actually still haven't seen the play. I heard everybody talking about it. I was at Eric Church.
It
I
was
did
like
not see the play.
the exact same play, except there was 0.1 more seconds on the clock.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, they were off to a pretty hot start.
There were
and
like 25 points in that game.
was that? Man, that is.
Somebody, and I won't say who.
Oh, please say who.
I live bet UCLA plus 11 and a
Yeah.
half when they were down
Nice.
5, and then Illinois went on a 15-0 run, and I
Yeah.
felt like the dumbest person on earth. And then by the end of the game, I felt like a really smart person.
Wow, it really was Tyus Edney. That's amazing. You'd think that everybody would be hip to that because they did it before, but I guess it's been 30 years. So
Yeah, no, it was
kind of forgot.
And I was watching a March Madness compilation that day of like best moments of March, and Tyus Edney came on. I was thinking in my head when they had 4.8 seconds, I was like, they could get Tyus Edney right now, and they do. Harrison Vapnik says Billy's going to the Final Four.
Hey, that would
Billikens,
be awesome.
Tigers, Illini, Gators in the Final Four, or Miami of Ohio. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you were getting real, and then you were like, no, let me do it.
Sorry,
this way.
Miami of
That'd be
Ohio.
silly.
They will. Miami, Ohio is going to, if they make it in. Oh,
They'll be interesting in the first
no,
round. I don't know that I'll be picking them. They
no.
haven't played anybody.
No. St. John's will win by. That's the projected matchup right now. I think I would take St. John's like alternate
They'll be
spread
a-
of 30.
They'll be a very popular upset pick, but I don't know that I will be. I don't think I'll be taking
No,
that.
that's a square pick. SLU beating Illinois in round of 32. Yeah, in St. Louis. If
It'd be a lot
SLU
of
could
fun.
get back to the 7 seed, and somehow they're both placed in St. Louis, that would be the most fun I've ever had watching a game, and I'll be there too. What do you think that crowd would be like? Break it down, because there's going to be like there'll be neutrals there,
yeah.
but well, actually, there won't be neutrals there because the St. Louis fans who technically would be neutrals at normal games will be cheering for SLU. What do you
right.
think it would be? I think it'd be 50-50.
Yeah, it would be a energized building for sure.
Because
But
I
think
think
you're right.
a lot of the Illini fans who live here are probably like, oh yeah, I cheer for SLU. Like if
Yeah.
SLU was playing and they were at the game, they'd be cheering for SLU. But and I think it's the same for Mizzou. But if their alma mater was in the game, they'd obviously be Illini
It's all
fans.
hands on deck.
Yeah.
No, but I think that there would be Illini fans that even if they don't live in St. Louis, they live close enough where they're like, this is great. We drew the region where I can go to the games. I would have to find a way to get there for that type of matchup, just to experience that.
Yeah.
I would certainly want to see SLU win it.
100%.
But yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd go 50-50 SLU Illinois. And that would be one of the most fun atmospheres for a round of 32 game ever. And I'm expecting some good games in St. Louis. It has the buzz of having good games. The Final Four they had was a great Final Four. 2016, Middle Tennessee State upsets Michigan State. Xavier beats Wisconsin Wisconsin beats Xavier on a turnaround 3-point buzzer beater in the round of 32. It produces good games. Sadly, we didn't get the region we were supposed to in 2020 because of COVID. Tournament got canceled.
Yeah.
They got it again. There will be 6 games played. I bet 4 of them are very good games.
I hope that's right. And what is it? I think it's on the Friday, right?
It's the Friday, Sunday, which I actually like because I'll be covering the games, and it's nice to have that first Thursday to just do nothing but watch basketball. And then the Friday, you can kind of just focus on your 4 games you're watching.
Yeah, I would still have
I'll have a laptop,
laptop
up, but
on.
less FOMO.
Yeah, it is kind of weird being at a tournament site where you are at it. You know,
Yeah.
you're in the fire, but you kind of have the FOMO of the people that can watch every game at once
Uh-huh.
without having to scramble.
Yeah. It's like if you're at like an Elite 8 or Final Four, it's okay because those are the only games they play
Right.
each game
That's
one
why
at a time.
I want to do the conference tournament. I think that would be fun because there's
It's
other
so-
conference tournaments going on, but it's not like
Getting down there and watching the SEC tournament last year from the second round all the way through the semifinals is the most fun I ever had watching basketball, especially with that
seems like it
SEC.
would be.
Because, like, yes, there was other conference tournaments going on, but I wasn't like, oh no, I'm missing
No.
these games.
You're at the center.
I
of
was at the
universe
center-
as far as we're concerned.
Yes, of the best teams, the best conference maybe ever. I got to watch all those. It was so much fun. like I'll be excited to go to Arch Madness this year as well, though. It's always a time.
Always a good time.
They got some good deals out there. You get for
tickets.
Yeah, for $60, you get both semifinal tickets. You get 2 beers and 2 hot dogs.
Huh.
It's a pretty good deal.
It's pretty good. And like by the time you get to the semifinals, those are the shoot for one of these 4 teams is going to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And they're for
That's a good round to be at.
The NBC is good enough to where like those 4 teams are. You'll watch good ball.
You can see some good early round games, but it's not always guaranteed. Some of those early games, and that's true of any conference tournament. Can be hit or miss. Some
of them are ugly. Like that, I feel like there's always like a Tuesday ACC game that just like sets the sport back like 100 years.
Yeah, because their tournament functions in a way that like it goes all week, and they have some ugly ones early for sure.
All right, Mizzou takes on Tennessee. And if you're going to be at the game, it's $2 beer night all the way from when doors open.
I'm actually going to take Gabe to this game.
You're going?
I will. Yeah.
Tomorrow?
I just decided.
Wow.
Yep, I should have brought that up sooner. But
that's a late drive back.
Yep. But I'm going to drive out after the big show. I'm just going to leave around 6 o'clock and roll right up. So there won't be a lot of $2 beers happening. But yeah, that's fun if you're in Columbia. You should absolutely be. And tickets are cheap. Like you can get them for cheap. As a Mizzou season ticket holder, they sent me a $5 offer.
Wow.
In my email. So like you can, I recommend it because it's going to be high level basketball too,
and it's going to be electric. They're trying to liquor up the student section.
They know they have to for the Tuesday later tip. Tip helps the St. Louis crowd though. I think if you're listening to this show right now and you're in St. Louis, you could afford to make that a plan. Even though coming back you'll get home about midnight, but it
works.
Be a lot of fun.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
What's the score prediction?
Oh gosh, they're probably gonna lose since I'm taking 6 hours out of my night to go do it. But I'll say Mizzou finds a way, 77-75.
I'll go 78-72. Tigers are victorious tomorrow in a must-win game for their hopes of the NCAA tournament. He's Brendan Schaefer. I'm Grant Salzman. Up next, it's Charlie Tuna and the Posse on the Lou Information Station. We're live and on demand at louinfo.com.
Listen up, fellow timeshare owners. If you're a timeshare owner and you want out at all costs, you're done.